Welcome to AI Explains. Today we're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating moment in tech history. We're looking at a paper titled, "An Image is Worth 16 by 16 Words."
It's such a great title, and it really marks the moment where the lines between, reading text and seeing images got incredibly blurry.
Right. So set the stage for us. Let's assume I'm completely unfamiliar with this field.
Yeah.
Before this paper, how did AI actually see things? Like, if I showed a computer a picture of a cat, how did it know it was a cat?
Well, for about a decade, if you wanted a computer to see, you used a specific architecture called a convolutional neural network, or a CNN.
A CNN, okay.
Yeah, and think of a CNN like looking at the world through a tiny sliding window. It scans the image bit by bit.
Looking for edges first, I imagine.
Exactly. It looks for edges, then maybe basic shapes, then the cat's ears, and eventually it pieces together the whole cat. It was the absolute gold standard.
Okay, so CNNs were the vision experts. But meanwhile, over in the world of text and language, things were different.
Completely different. The text world, things like chatbots and translation had already moved on to transformers. These models were incredibly powerful, but everyone just assumed they were strictly for language?
Right, they were Kix processors.
Exactly. But this paper asked a pretty radical question. What if we take that language brain and force it to look at pictures?
So kind of trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
Or shove a photo into a text processor.
Basically, yeah. And the way they did it was shockingly simple. They didn't build some complex new machine. They just took a photo and chopped it up into a grid of squares.
Like little tiles.
Right, specifically little squares that are 16 pixels by 16 pixels.
Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine I have a photo of a dog. I cut it up into a bunch of little score tiles, like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yep. Then you just line those tiles up in a single row. And to the AI, that row of image tiles looks exactly like a sentence of words.
So it literally reads the picture.
It does. It treats the first tile just like the word "the" at the start of a sentence. They call this the vision transformer, or VIT.
That sounds incredibly straightforward. But I have to assume there's a catch. You can't just treat a photo like a sentence and expect it to magically work.
There is a catch, and it's about what we call inductive bias. Think of inductive bias like street smarts or pre-installed knowledge.
Okay.
The old CNN models came with a lot of those street smarts. They knew the rules of images before they ever saw one.
What kind of smarts? Like knowing how pixels relate to each other.
Exactly. They knew that pixels next to each other are usually related. They knew that a cat in the top left corner is the exact same thing as a cat in the bottom right corner. They had built-in guardrails.
And the vision transformer.
It has none of that. It starts completely blind. It doesn't know what 2D space is. It doesn't even know that the top left tile is next to the one right beside it.
Wait, so it treats every tile as totally isolated.
Totally separate pieces of information until it learns otherwise, yeah.
That sounds like learning to read without even knowing what the alphabet looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Did it actually work?
At first, no, it really didn't. They call this model a data-hungry beast for a reason. When they trained it on a standard dataset ImageNet, which has about 1.3 million images, it actually performed worse than the old models.
Wow, 1.3 million images wasn't enough practice.
Not for a model that knows absolutely nothing about the physical world. Because it lacked those pre-installed street smarts, it just couldn't figure out the patterns fast enough. But here is where it gets really interesting. Google decided to go big.
How big are we talking?
They fed the beast a private dataset called JFT 300M that stands for 300 million images.
300 million, that is a massive jump.
It is, and that changed everything. The paper essentially proves that scale trumps rules. When given that massive amount of data, the vision transformer didn't just catch up. It beat the state-of-the-art models.
So brute force won the day. It learned the rules of images better than we could program them.
In a way, yes, but it also gained a superpower. Remember how the old models looked at the image through a tiny sliding window?
Right.
Well, the vision transformer uses something called global attention.
Global attention, that sounds pretty intense.
It basically means the model can compare any part of the image to any other part instantly, even in the very first layer. It doesn't have to scan slowly.
So it can look at a pixel in the top corner and one in the bottom corner at the exact same time.
Exactly. It sees the whole picture at once. It gets the global context immediately. And the really surprising part is, despite being this huge data-hungry beast, it's actually cheaper to train.
That doesn't make any sense. You'd think a model that learns from scratch would take way more computational resources.
You really would. But because it uses the same simple math that powers text models, our modern computer chips are perfectly optimized to run it. It's actually more efficient than those complex old-school vision models.
So what does this all mean for you listening at home? Why does it matter that a text model can see?
It's a huge lesson in flexibility. It proves you don't need complex, image-specific architecture if you just have enough data and a flexible model.
It sounds like we are moving toward a jack-of-all-trades AI.
We really are. Think about it. If a model designed purely for text can master images just by chopping them into squares, what does that mean for the future?
We might be moving toward a single, universal AI architecture that handles absolutely everything.
Audio, video, text, all processed by the same brain.
That is a wild thought for you to chew on. That the difference between reading a book and looking at a photo might just be how you slice the data. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.